trapped inside your thoughts, trying so hard to guess the plot. Cause when we meet, you'll see the wait was really worth it. I would wait forever, cause I got faith, it's just a matter of time. All of the nights without you, I will just keep on waiting, waiting for you. For you, waiting for you. All you really gotta do is keep me on your mind. Just keep me on your mind. And all we really gotta do is not give up. I would wait forever, cause I got faith, it's just a matter of time. All of the nights without
skin. How could love wear so thin? I'm sinking in the hollow ground. Nothing can stop me wanting you somehow.
Tries to hold on to the bottom. Just that. They make contact. They touch once, twice, 3 times.
Foul trouble! Oh, no, Rocky into the wall. Big crash front straightaway. Huge crash coming into the triangle. No, Rocky up and into the air. They're beating and banging. Burn on the bottom. Cosman up top. Cosman, I think. No. Breyer by 1/1000th of a second. Joseph, no! At the line, Thunhorse pulls the win out at the stripe.
Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here?
Here comes the canvas. Get your foot there. He's got it. He's got it. Canvas is going to win.
The season began in February with almost 2,000 drivers vying for a shot at eNASCAR's Holy Grail, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Through the high banks of Daytona to the flatlands in Kansas and the beast of the Southeast in Charlotte, that number of drivers was whittled down to the top 70 to ultimately settle the 20 drivers that will advance to the eNASCAR Contender Series. Tonight, we set the table for the last race of the season, and we will know which 20 drivers will be racing for their shot at the Coke Series once we get the checkered flag. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to FTF.GG's coverage of the final race of Round 2 of the 2022 eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series, live from iRacing's virtual Texas Motor Speedway from Fort Worth, Texas. Glad to have you along for the ride here on FTF.GG. Jacob Hitz, James Pike, and Blake McCandless here with you. Caleb Hoffman is off covering the other split tonight. You'll see results for that as we go along. Scroll across the bottom of your screen. Justin Malillo is down on pit road for us tonight. As always, James, we're wrapping this thing up at Texas. This track, it's difficult to pass here, but 100 laps up on the board is going to open up the window, I think, a little bit maybe for some strategy for these guys.
Difficult to pass and deceptively tough on tires. You wouldn't necessarily think it, but it is very easy to burn up the right front, especially on the exit of turn 2. So tire wear is something we're going to be keeping our eyes on. But I think the bigger overarching theme of tonight, and part of the big piece of why we are at Texas, for a series that winds its way through super speedways and short tracks and dirt tracks and road courses, its bread and butter is on the 1.5-mile intermediate tracks. And so in that sense, it's fitting that we conclude the 2022 eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series season on a 1.5-mile intermediate track.
And Blake, I'll turn to you as far as points are concerned. We'll pull the points up so you can see exactly where we stand. 7 drivers currently locked in, and you'll see the array of colors that we have up on the big board.
Yeah, that's going to be important, and we will be keeping track with that all night long, Jacob. I know as someone who went through this last year, this last race, when you're punching those last couple of numbers, trying to get inside the top 20, it is stressful. You're counting every position that changes in both splits, which is hard enough to keep track of. So a lot going on. And one thing that's a little bit different this year, Jacob, is we have so many drivers that are right around that cut line. I know last year going in, it was, about a handful of drivers that were vying for the last 2 or 3 spots or so. We have, at least looking at the standings with a drop, 18th is +3 above the cut line in Daniel Buttafuoco. Jake Nichols is -8 down in 29th. So there are so many more drivers this time around that have a chance to try and make up those points to get inside that top 20.
And we've got some smaller fields tonight as well. There you see the guys that are outside the top 20 that are going to need a pretty strong run tonight in order to lock themselves in or in order to get themselves into the next round. The field size tonight, smaller. Only 21 guys in our session, 22 in the other. So a grand total of 43 out of the 70 that could have made an attempt tonight. It'll be interesting to see how all that shakes out as far as points are concerned and who that could lock out, because there aren't enough spots on the racetrack to get them in. Let's go through our starting grid tonight here from Texas Motor Speedway. Daniel Falkingham winds up on pole position. Tyler Gary to the outside. Wyatt Tinsley and Agnell Phillip in row number 2. Jonathan Delaney rounding out the top 5. Matt Forcapa in 6th. Dufresne Arge in 7th. Andrew Navarro, he's locked in 8th. Timmy Holmes, and the man that I didn't think would even make it to this second round based off of what we were told before Charlotte in round 1. Joey Brown, he's locked in. He will race in contender. He rolls off 10th, James.
Tommy Gossett begins tonight from the 11th position on the outside looking in. Seth the Merchant will start from 12th. 13th is where you'll find Jake Nichols. Starting 14th is Christopher Pfeffer. Daniel Smallwood begins tonight from the 15th position. Timmy Pacioli starts from 16th. He's the only driver starting in this group that is mathematically eliminated already. Michael Bumgarner will begin from 17th next to Michael Cozy Jr., who will race in the Contender Series already. We know he'll be there, as will Jordy Lopez Jr., who locked up his place last week, or 2 weeks ago rather, with the win at Bristol. On the dirt, he'll start 19th alongside Christopher Hill in 20th.
And 21st, Connor Horn. Not really enough to add another guy to the list there as far as going through the starting grid. Now, I'd have to wonder here, guys, and I don't know if anybody would be able to answer this quite yet, but I would think based off of the truck count that we have tonight, this is going to knock some of these guys that were pretty deep in points out. Santiago Tires, he's 37 points below the cut line coming into tonight. It sounds like, from what we're being told now, 38th on back in points are going to be eliminated. So that's Anthony Burrows, who is in 38th. That wipes out Kyler Wynn, Justin Knobloch, Matt Coker, Jackson Crowder, Daniel Nanny, Michael Bumgardner, Ty E. Bass, Ethan Lane, Blake Bottoms, Santiago Tires, plus everybody else that you have seen in red from Timmy Pacioli on down. So we're going to have about 18 guys. Well, more than that, actually. How about still 30 guys fighting over 12 spots?
Yeah, enjoy the madness, as it were. Quick look here at Texas Motor Speedway before we go racing. This is the Texas Motor Speedway located in Fort Worth, Texas. 1.5 miles around this quad oval, 2.414 kilometers. Opened in 1996, 20 to 24 degrees of banking, depending on where you are. 1 and 2 have 20 degrees, 3 and 4 have 24 degrees, 5 degrees of banking on the straights. We go tonight for 100 laps, 150 miles, 362 kilometers in sim time. August 20th, about 3:40 p.m. local time. Air temp 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Truck temp 102 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds to the southwest at 2 miles an hour. Humidity of 37%. Sunny day in Texas for this finale, Jacob.
That's your weather and traffic report with James Pike as we get set to go. As you can see, the other split, their art ticker for them down at the bottom of your screen. They just took the green flag, and we're next. Green flag, we're racing at Texas. The last race of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series in 2022 is underway. Daniel Falkingham leads lap number 1, 99 laps to go in the race. Falkingham out in front, Tyler Gary nipping at his heels. Wyatt Tinsley, couple of truck lengths back off turn 2.
Tinsley, one of those drivers fighting for a place, and we'll refer back to the color code throughout the evening, so go ahead and get used to it now. If you see someone with the green highlight, you're locked into the Contender Series. If you see someone with a yellow highlight, they just need to make sure that they don't screw up. If everything finishes close to the way it is, they'll be in because they started tonight above that cut line. If you see an orange background, then that means there's work to be done. They started outside the top 20 in points, and they need a good run tonight in order to have a shot at the top 20. Anyone with a red background is mathematically eliminated and just racing for fun at this point. So keep your eyes on that. and where it goes. If you want chaos, you should be cheering for a lot of orange to come to the top of the pylon. That really would throw a lot of things out of whack, and it just so happens that Falkingham, one of those drivers who's got the lead, but Gary and Tinsley aren't terribly far away from the cutoff line either. So even though, yes, they have the yellow background they're in coming into tonight, they still would benefit from a good run like the ones they've got going on early.
And Blake, one guy that is in orange up on the screen, Timmy Holmes, he's had a really tough time getting through some traffic back here in this 11th position. He was stuck 3 wide, was blocking some folks, and he is all over the tailgate of Matt Forcapa here, headed into turn number 1.
And Holmes is one of those drivers that is going to be very, very close. He was in what was a 4-way tie for the 21st position coming into this race right now, running in 11th. He's one of the drivers that we'll really have to watch. It's going to be right around that cut line all night long. Christopher Pfeffer as well right now running in 15th, a little bit further back, another driver that is right there. And the more that I'm looking at this, Jacob, and just kind of the way things have played out, a lot of drivers that are kind of beneath that cut line right now, it seems like most of them are kind of grouped in the other race, and that's one thing that you kind of like to see, because you're head-to-head against them. You could try to get more points, but also it kind of hurts a lot of those guys who may be trying to make up a lot of points, guys like Kevin King, James Winsell, a couple of others that are in other splits. So a lot of head-to-head competition beneath that cut line will shake things up here a little bit, but Daniel Falkingham doing the best of it now at the front of the field.
He continues to stay out in front. Tyler Gary in second. Wyatt Tinsley holding off a charge for the moment from Agnell Phillip there for that 3rd spot. Here comes Tommy Gossett. Nope, that's Drew Frayne. No, who in the world is that? How about Joey Brown? That's it. Identical trucks back here. Brown, the first one out in front in that 14. It's Gossett right behind, and those guys are starting to make their way toward the front. Each of them up 4 spots since the green flag.
Covers and goers, I think, is going to be a theme of this race, especially if it goes green, like I think it will. You remember last year, the Coke Series finale that was held here at the same virtual Texas Motor Speedway featured a significant amount of green flag racing, not a lot of yellows. So how you manage your tires over the course of a green flag run, I think, is going to be very, very important in determining how the finish of this race plays out.
8 laps are in the books, and everybody single file around this bottom of the racetrack. It just everybody in a straight sort of conga line here down the back straightaway. And I think for most of these guys here, Blake, they're just taking their grand old time. They want to make it to the end of this deal before they start making big moves. But as I say that, here comes Phillip underneath Wyatt Tinsley for 3rd.
Phillip going to try to make that move. This is pretty much one of the only passing zones here at Texas, or at least the best one, is trying to get a run off of 3 and 4 and dive to the bottom of turns 1 and 2. That bottom lane going to be very important for these drivers to try and keep, and we'll see how the handling of these trucks kind of change over the course of a run. I know running a lot of Texas here, even running in the Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series last year at this racetrack, these trucks are going to be pretty grouped up to the first 10, 15 or so laps. Just the draft is powerful enough and you're able to keep the throttle to the floor. What'll really be the separator is who can take care, I guess I should say, of that right rear tire. Most of these trucks, especially being open setup, going to be a little bit set up to take 1 and 2 really well. But that's going to make you loose on this end of the racetrack in 3 and 4. So the trucks that are able to take care of that right rear tire going to be in a good spot, as we see kind of still about single file through your first 7 or 8 trucks, and some more side by side a little further on back.
Tinsley shuffled back to 7th. And James, you talked about that a little bit when looking at the track and how this track is set up. Turns 1 and 2 and turns 3 and 4 are completely different here at Texas Motor Speedway, and that makes trying to set these trucks up a real challenge for these guys.
Yeah, because you're never really going to have the setup work perfectly for you at both ends of the racetrack, because the banking is different. Never mind the fact that the entry angle coming off of the front stretch is different than the entry angle you have coming off the back stretch. It's a little bit wider, and you can arc it out or dive down to the bottom. You've got a few more options in 1 and 2 as opposed to the higher bank turns 3 and 4. So lines will play into this, I think, a little bit. However, I think we're getting a pretty big indicator from our field so far, everybody wants to be near the bottom. Don't think they really want to try and venture to anything crazy, do anything nutty, especially since you're so close to the rev limiter here in these trucks. Not a lot of RPM, right around that 7,000 ballpark range. You are on throttle for a lot of the time here at Texas. And yes, it goes without saying, I suppose, to some degree, that the more you stand on the throttle, the better off you're going to be. But minimizing off throttle time also very big in order to get fast laps here.
Down the back straightaway, headed to turn number 3. Freynar's in that iRacing machine, as you can see on the bottom of our screen, little yellow flash there. So we have a caution in the alternate split. I know Caleb Hoffman is covering that other split. Caleb, good evening. What's going on?
Yeah, we just had a single car spin in turns 3 and 4. Brian Blackford, made a little bit of contact with Kyle Myers, and that sent Brian Blackford around. Monitoring how that will affect Brian Blackford. He doesn't have too much damage, but pit stops are the big thing I'm watching here.
Well, the good news for Blackford, he's 59th in points and eliminated, so he is just out here running for I rating, I guess, or safety rating. He's not going to have a shot to move on to the Contender Series, so no real hurt for Blackford, other than, I guess, maybe trying to have a good run tonight and maybe park it in victory lane. Nonetheless, we're off turn number 2, and everybody's single file, but everybody is bunched up close together, almost as if they wanted to make a move, they could. One move further on in the back of the pack. Here comes Timmy Holmes trying to get by Forcapa.
Really,
Timmy Holmes, again, somebody that's really close right there to trying to make their dreams work to be in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series next year. Looks like he's going to be able to complete that pass, and it's just so tough to be able to have those issues. Caleb, you got something else that's happening there in that split.
Yeah, so Brian Blackford has just intentionally wrecked Kyle Myers under the yellow in turns 3 and 4. Kyle Myers is on the bubble. He had to have a good run tonight, but he has a possibly terminal amount of damage on the truck after a collision with Brian Blackford. So we'll see how that works out, but big stuff.
I gotta say, the Brian Blackford, Jacob, that's the last person I would ever expect to do something like that. So he must have been fuming.
And Kyle Myers is the cut line. He is tied with Wyatt Tinsley coming into tonight. Myers losing the tiebreaker. So Myers just on the outside looking in, and if he's got that much damage, any amount of damage is going to hurt you in this series because you don't have any fast repair. These things are so aerodynamic, especially at the mile and a halfs. Major contender implications for Kyle Myers here. Even if his race isn't done, his shot at moving on to the next round, James, may be up in smoke.
There's certainly more to that story that I want to hear before I say anything more on it. But in a general sense, yeah, that's a really tough break to have it all come down to this, and then something like that be the issue. But there are definitely layers, I think, to that onion as we get a good look at the battles a little bit further back in the field.
Here we go. Look at this. That's Joey Brown. Peeking down to the inside. Freynar's trying to block him going into turn number 3. It's not the first time I've seen somebody try and pinch him down the back straightaway. It's a little too early to be making a move like that. And here come the 14 and the 80 on the inside. Joey Brown moves over. He's now in P4. Here comes Gossett looking for P5.
Gossett going to try to make that move, and what a season it has been for Joey Brown. Kind of reminds me of a number of drivers who were in the Coach Series, took a little bit of a break. You think about drivers like Cody Bias or Nick Shelton, Derek Bordeaux, that had been in that series before, took a little bit of a break, whether it was intentional or not, and worked their way back through the Road to Pro ladder. I think Joey Brown showing that his time off has not slowed him down at all, that he hopped right back in and has remained very competitive. He's well on his way to the Contender Series right now and looks like to be one of the early favorites to supplement some of those spots in the Coke Series. But there's a lot of racing going on behind him. Here comes Tommy Gossett way up the racetrack. He gets a little out of shape, and he may be hitting those bumps right there, especially as low as they have these trucks. Those bumps can be pretty violent in turns 3 and 4.
Probably saw Andrew Navarro in his mirror make that big move down the back straightaway, and that's what spooked him. didn't quite make the corner, and that could open up the door here for that 42 on the inside. And Tommy Gossett, well, this is unconventional racing here at Texas. There is no grip up on the high side of the racetrack, but it seems like he made that thing stick coming off turn number 2.
I'm impressed that he did. I wasn't exactly expecting it, but you see people like Gossett, people like Fritos. It's the same sort of deal. You're outside of the top 20. You have to make moves, and I don't think you can wait in particular on some sort of strategy falling your way unless you're really just trying to throw a Hail Mary. I think if you're close enough to the bubble, especially in Fritos' case, he's 7 points out. Gossett's only 12 points out. I think it's a safer play to go attack this field and try and get towards the front as fast as you can, and then let things happen behind you and hope that you're in a good position.
Oh, man.
Crazy backwards is, big time block there as we saw Fritos throw it big on Navarro down the backstretch.
Yeah, can't imagine those guys are going to be all that happy, and he's just holding them up right now. Navarro is right there. You've got to, oh man, big block on DeMerchant from Timmy Holmes going into turn number 1. Holmes is going to slide up. He's going to lose the spot to DeMerchant. Jonathan Delaney looking in the middle coming off turn number 2. He's going to stick that nose right in there and try and make an impact. Meanwhile, Daniel Falkingham has been passed for the lead by Tyler Gary. We were single file for 20 laps, and all of a sudden we're coming apart.
Gets into
There we go.
He saved it. Wow.
Timmy Holmes, incredible hands coming off turn number 4. Contact with Seth DeMerchant 3 wide, and somehow they save it, and everybody comes out the other side.
So the real question is who ends up calling jinx and who owes who a soda, because you all said that almost at the exact same time, but it was impressive.
Great minds think alike, I guess. It was, I cannot believe that is such a terrible spot to get hit at the exit of turn 4. I thought for sure he's going to slap the wall, and I mean, that aero damage would kill him right here. I can't believe he stuck it out and saved that truck. Uncharacteristic of DeMerchant. I don't know if he got loose or shoved up the racetrack a little bit, but for Holmes, who's 2 beneath, I mean, that's 4 spots right there, 3 spots that he just lost, so that's a number of points.
No doubt about it. It's battle for second going on right now as they come off turn number 4. You see another replay of that slide and save from Holmes. Falkingham stuck on the inside. Agnell Phillip up on the outside line. You've got Brown and Gossett closing in right behind. Here comes Brown. He's going to go to the outside, see if there's any grip up there. Phillip with the run in that middle line, if you will, and he's got the advantage off too.
You know what's so terrifying to me, if I'm in this race, especially if I'm on the outside looking in, Joey Brown has the freedom to go explore wherever he wants to run on this racetrack. And if he finds something up top, maybe a little bit quicker than other people and can use it, not only is he going to have a relatively clear lane up there, we haven't seen too many drivers go up to that lane, but now it's going to put even more pressure on the drivers, especially outside of the top 20. And I think to a large degree, if you're on the outside of the bubble looking into it, you don't necessarily have that freedom there, as yet again, more blocks here down the backstretch, but you don't have that freedom to go out and just go try things. But it underscores how important it is to get your work done early, especially in round 2, because Brown got the victories and made things happen and won at Mid-Ohio and won at Bristol Dirt, or rather Darlington, and doesn't have to worry. So he's literally just testing, but it also may end up shaping this race if what he finds ends up working out.
Brown and Navarro are driving like crazy right now. Both drivers locked in, everybody around them dancing on ice right now as far as trying to make it to the next round and having the perfect race. And I don't think Navarro and Brown are really going to put up with it. At least it doesn't appear that way. 30 laps are in the books here at Texas. Tyler Gary is now your race leader. It's a Hornet's Nest, back here at the back half of the top 5.
It's a lot going on. I think a lot of drivers who are kind of in that they need to be aggressive and gain a lot of points really push their tires here, Jacob. And also, I think it's worth mentioning that, obviously our attention right now is on the top 20, but it has been confirmed that 2 Coke Series drivers, Liam Brotherton, who worked his way through Road to Pro last year, and Logan Clampett, who has been part of the Coke Series for a number of years, will be stepping away from Coke Series competition. How that affects this series is, well, there's going to be 40 drivers in the Contender Series no matter what, so they are going to pull more drivers from this series as a result. So as much as we are going to focus on that top 20 tonight, it's something that even I dealt with last year, that even after this race is over, it would appear 22 will likely be taken from this series. But not only that, you have to think, are there other Coke drivers who may be thinking of stepping away that haven't said it publicly? We still have a number of races to go in that series. So if you're 22nd, 23rd after tonight, well, guess what? Your journey isn't over, but it's out of your hands at that point.
No doubt about that. And you know, we know for sure the top 20 likely going to be in. Is look out, Tommy Gossett lighting the rear tires up, coming off turn number 4. He's able to hold on to the truck, but here comes Freynars looking to the outside. That is for 7th on the racetrack. Seth the Merchant and Daniel Smallwood right behind these guys.
Big battles in the middle of the pack. Meanwhile, Connor Horn has decided to come down pit road for service. That looks like an interesting strategy play. I would assume he is likely trying to two-stop this race, and it looks like he's the only one that may be on that strategy. So the rest of the battling happens up front. And the biggest thing I'm worried about right now is that with the amount of blocks we've seen on the backstretch, with the amount of hard sends we've seen on corner entry into turns 3 and turn 1 in particular, do we get to a point, Jacob, where at some stage these drivers end up running into each other on corner entry and sending somebody sideways, spinning somebody out, potentially causing a caution? I think we can't rule out that possibility because we've seen how aggressive this field has already been.
Very, very aggressive so far. I mean, and we've seen it already in the contact that they had mid-pack. So far, knock on wood, so good. Tyler Gary out in front, but Agnell Phillip is on the back bumper of that number 26. He is somebody on the outside looking in, trying to make his way into the next round, and he's in the tire tracks. So Tyler Gary coming off turn 2.
Seems like a slight dip in speed here, at least a little bit later in the run. Daniel Falkingham had that clean air. His teammate from Norris Force Racing and Tyler Gary picks up where he left off, but it looks like Agnell Phillip right now, just a lot of long run speed in that truck. And of course, Gary pretty much in a, if he started this race, he's good scenario. So you see not much of a fight put up there. Gary lives to fight another lap. He'll go back to second, and Agnell Phillip now will be your race leader.
Hey, Gary just let him on by going into turn number 1. It's going to open up the door for the 42 of Andrew Navarro. He takes it to the inside, trying to get by Tyler Gary. He does so just fine. Gary slots in line in third, chop it off the nose. Whoa, Navarro, a big slide and save coming off turn number 4. He was at it on the steering wheel, holds on to P2, and now Tyler Gary under pressure for third. Joey Brown to the outside.
I couldn't tell if Navarro got help from Gary on corner exit there, but I saw Navarro bobble just a little bit. There may have been contact there, may not totally sure, but something we need to keep in mind as Agnell Phillip is pacing this field, and I would imagine probably loving the battling that is happening behind him, because with each passing turn that they continue to fight each other, it allows him to focus on getting away, and he hasn't jumped the field by too much. It's only a 0.2 of a second lead, but they keep doing it again and again and again and again, and he'll stretch the lead that he already has. It'll just be easier for him to, if nothing else, plan that pit stop a little bit later on.
Almost 40 laps complete here from Texas. You see a little side-by-side back there. Drew Freynars, and that's Seth the Merchant on the outside. One of the Altus Esports drivers up there in that outside line. He's got a couple of teammates here, Micah Cozy Jr. and Jordy Lopez Jr. They're both running behind him on the racetrack right now. Cozy 15th, Lopez in 16th. As so far, we've calmed down, gotten back to single file, at least up here at the front of the field.
You've sorted out a lot going on a little bit further on back. And Timmy Pacioli and Christopher Pfeffer, I mean, that's back there for about 20th, but they were going at it for a number of laps. I'm interested to see where Connor Horn cycles out in this scenario. He's about 0.8 of a second faster than the rest of the field right now. And, I mean, Connor, he's mathematically possible to get in, but he needs a miracle. I I don't fault him for trying to take this strategy and do something that's completely different, because even winning may not cut it for Connor. So he just has to think way outside the box, try something completely different. And so I like this call for Connor because, again, it's pretty much a Hail Mary at this point, whether he'd make contender or not. So I like this call, but we'll just have to see how it plays out and if he gets a caution at the right time.
We keep on rolling. How about Tommy Gossett? He goes way up the hill. Man, I don't know what it is about going that high up on the racetrack, but apparently it works. I don't know how, but that outside line in turns 1 and 2 just keeps on rolling.
Simple math would tell me that if you can stay on the throttle longer, as you most normally can, if you're on that high line, then it's easier to build up momentum on corner exit. You go a little bit faster down the straightaway and you make up what you give on corner entry and what you give through the quarter, because you have a little bit greater radius. So that's the key. If you're going to run up there, you have to keep your foot mashed to the floor. However, you also run the risk of wearing out your tires a little bit more because they travel a slightly further distance. So a bit of yin and yang, two sides of a coin. Pick whichever you want, but just be mindful of what lane you run does to what the lane that you run does to your tires, your truck, your run. You have to sort of balance all those variables to put together a solid race.
Closing in on the halfway point here from Texas. Let's go over to the other split for just a moment. Caleb Huffman, what you got?
Yeah, so we just had an incident. It did not bring out a caution, but it was involving the 8 truck of Dalton Collins and Garrison Hogan. Garrison Hogan, who is 22nd in points, right on that cut line. It was just an incident where the 8 truck washed down, went all the way to the bottom line on the corner, washed up in front of Garrison Hogan, and they made some pretty considerable contact. Now Garrison Hogan, again with considerable damage, neither of the trucks have come down the pit lane for the said damage, but something to keep an eye on is we're starting to get dicey over here in the other split.
Side by side here through the front straightaway, Wyatt Tinsley side by side with Joey Brown. Tinsley started up toward the front of the field. He started in third, fell back, and now here he is charging his way back up into the top 3, getting around Joey Brown.
And good battling up here happening amongst the top 10 or so. Another side-by-side battle, as you were just mentioning there. Oh, golly, they are just... you have to be so precise here at Texas with the way everybody has to run and the way you have to try and pass trucks. It's interesting to see. We've started to see the middle groove come in a little bit, especially in 1 and 2. And my goodness, we've seen some drivers go all the way up to the wall in 1 and 2. I remember testing that last year, and it's not as bad as it would be in real life with a bunch of sticky stuff and kind of trash out there that the PJ won't kind of suck up. It's not fast, but it's viable. I'm surprised we've seen some drivers venture up there to this point.
3 laps to go until halfway. Joey Brown back at it again here with Wyatt Tinsley for this third spot. That's allowing Seth DeMerchant to reel them in. DeMerchant is our biggest mover so far. Started in 12th, he's up to 5th.
Definitely one to keep your eye on, Seth DeMerchant, and one of those drivers who was not mathematically locked in, but was in the top 20. So he's certainly not hurting his case to go make Pro Series. And it brings us back to a storyline that we talked about pretty consistently throughout the qualifying series this year. Altus Esports and the similarities between Donovan Strauss's run in the qualifying series and contender series in 2020 and 2021. Donovan Strauss was great in the qualifying series in 2020, bombed the contender series that season, came back in 21, was consistently good all the way through, and made it into the Coke Series with ease. Same sort of thing happened last year for Altus. They were great in the qualifying series, then we get to the contender series, and they had no pace, no speed, they struggled. Don't think they got any other drivers into the Coke Series. This year, yet again, really good pace, really strong drives from a lot of their drivers. Michael Cozy Jr. is already locked in. Jordy Lopez Jr. is already locked in. DeMerchant is trying to lock himself in. The question now for this team is what can they do when they get to the Contender Series now that they've already been here before? It's not just about making it there. It's about being successful there. As I saw one truck on the apron a little bit.
It's Falkingham.
They're pitting, James. They're pitting. Your leader is in. Navarro is in. Wyatt Tinsley. Agnell Phillip. Let's go downstairs. Justin Melillo.
We got about half of the field on pit road this time by. It's halfway. It's a one-stop strategy for, it looks like, 10 of these trucks. Actually, it's probably a one-stop strategy for everybody. Everybody who didn't come down this time is going to be coming down next time. I can almost guarantee it. Andrew Navarro, Agnell Phillip, Wyatt Tinsley, Tommy Gossett, Daniel Falkingham, Michael Cozy Jr., all on pit road, all taking 4 tires, filling it up with fuel. Cozy's out of his box, Navarro's out of his box, and everybody seems to be down and away here for the first round. The second round are on pit road now. Everybody's coming in. Everybody looks like they made it in fairly safely. It is the other half, the other 10 trucks, all on pit road, led by Seth DeMerchant, Joey Brownson, Tyler Gary, Jonathan Delaney, Drew Freenage, Jordy Lopez Jr. They're also taking their 4 fresh tires. Now, with that said, Connor Horn is going to be in a great position here. He pitted at lap 33. He's gapped the field. He's going to have a gigantic lead over everybody, but I don't think he's going to be able to make it from here until the end. And everybody's down and away for the second round.
Thank you, Justin. We'll see what Connor Horn can do. We are past the halfway point, so at this time, it's time to bring you the iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing. iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in Australian supercars, IndyCar, IMSA, NASCAR, the World of Outlaws, and more. Connor Horn is currently your race leader. Andrew Navarro sits in second. Wyatt Tinsley is third. Seth DeMerchant fourth. Agnell Phillip in fifth. Tommy Gossett is sixth. Joey Brown seventh. Tyler Gary eighth. Daniel Falkingham, your pole sitter, in ninth. And P10, Jake Nichols.
11th currently is where you'll find Matt Forcappa. Michael Cozy Jr. rides in 12th. Michael Bumgarner holds the 13th spot, and 14th belongs to Jonathan Delaney. Timmy Holmes sits in the 15th position. 16th is where you'll find Drew Freenage. Christopher Hill rides in 17th. 18th belongs to Jordy Lopez Jr. Christopher Pfeffer is 19th. 20th is Timmy Pacioli, and Daniel Smallwood completes our 21-car field.
This concludes tonight's iRacing Midway Race Break with over 200,000 drivers on the service and over 90 laser scan tracks and cars to choose from. iRacing is your portal to the racing world. Get on track today at iRacing.com. Connor Horn, your leader from Texas. We're past halfway, coming to 45 laps to go. We step aside. We're back after this here on FTF.GG. And we welcome you back here to Texas Motor Speedway for race number 7, the final race of round 2 of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series on FTF.gg. Jacob Pitts, James Pike, Blake McCandless with you, Caleb Hoffman covering the other split, Justin Melillo down on pit road, Seth DeMerchant takes over second, Wyatt Tinsley drop kick back to fourth, because Joey Brown will take over third, and now Andrew Navarro all on his lonesome out in front. Connor Horn has dropped back. Obviously, he was on a different strategy. No way he was going to hold them off. So now new leader in Navarro, who's already locked into the next round.
Yeah, this is nutty here. Looking right around the 4th, 5th spot as you see. I believe this is, I think, Wyatt Tinsley, who's just letting everybody go underneath him. And that's Gary, that's Phillip, and that's Gossett, who ascended to the 4th, 5th, and 6th spots. Tinsley back to 7th. I think he just wanted to be out of that outside lane, though. Looked like he just didn't want to be anywhere beyond the bottom and just is happy to ride around. And I don't know, maybe let the chips fall where they may if he doesn't feel like he's got anything for any of the cars or trucks, rather, ahead of him.
And we know from Justin Melillo that we heard from back when we had the green flag stops, likely the last stop of the day for most of these guys. Here comes DeMerchant round the outside, looking for the lead.
DeMerchant trying to do all he can to try to make up all that spots. He's going to be able to clear into turns 3 and 4 and make them side by side for second. Navarro on the bottom, Joey Brown utilizing the middle. I think Brown's going to have that run off the corner, so we've set DeMerchant up to the lead. He has nothing to worry about. He's going to be Contender Series racing yet again, and so is Joey Brown, and now those two drivers will pace your field. But how far back does Navarro or Tyler Gary fall?
Navarro falling back to 3rd, trying to hold on, actually to 4th, trying to hold on to 3rd. Tyler Gary around the outside in that 26. He is all but clear, trying to take that spot away from that 42 Toyota. Agnell, Phillip, and Tommy Gossett are right on his heels here, headed back to turn number 1. Phillip just too far back to try and make a move.
I would figure, though, that both Gossett and Phillip have about a million reasons to try and make the pass around Navarro. Navarro, we know we're going to see in the Contender Series. Gossett and Phillip came in tonight outside of the top 20, so there's a very real incentive to get around Navarro and, most importantly, take the points that Navarro would be getting now for 4th and claim them for their own. If anything, he's just sort of stealing points as it stands from Gossett, from Phillip, and making their attempts to try and get to the Contender Series just that little bit more difficult.
Top 2 starting to pull away, putting a little bit of gap between themselves and Tyler Gary, as we've got a pretty big separation back from Jake Nichols. He's in 9th, and you got to go back more than a second to Forkapa, who is in 10th, and then the rest kind of lined up behind him. Drew Freenos right behind him as well, and that number 5 trying to get by Forkapa. He's going to be able to do it right here. As now Navarro under pressure, and I just missed a pass for the lead. Hello, Joey Brown. He's out in front.
Yeah, Joey Brown able to make his way by Seth DeMerchant, and he is trying to just take off in that Ryko machine. And how about it for Seth DeMerchant and Joey Brown? We talk about Texas and how difficult it is to pass and try to make up track position. These two guys started outside the top 10. Joey Brown started 10th. Seth DeMerchant started back in 12th. Tommy Gossett started in 11th. He's already up to the 4th spot. So these drivers have been able to make their way, not exactly doing it strategy-wise, just they have a lot of raw speed in their trucks, and they're able to make it work.
Joey Brown remains out in front, inside 35 laps to go here from the Texas Motor Speedway. As we've got an update now, Caleb Hoffman in the other split.
Yeah, so it looks like everyone 15th to 1st pitted. The big thing, though, is Brandon McKissick, who is P13 going into tonight, missed the pit road and cut through the infield grass and came in a lap late. So big for him, but everybody else now cycling through pit stops on about a 1 to 2 lap margin. Brandon John Kohler, who was the leader earlier, came in just now. So just cycling through. Watch Brandon McKissick, again, P13 coming in, missed the pit road and had to make evasive maneuvers to get back on track.
That's your update there on that other split. There at about 37 laps to go. There you see Boyd Hogan, your race leader. Meanwhile, over here, it's all Joey Brown out in front, side by side for position number 4. Tommy Gossett round the outside, trying to get by Andrew Navarro. Agnell Phillip right behind. We know Gossett needs as much help as he can, trying to use this outside line to get by that 42 of Andrew Navarro off turn 2.
Well, and right now, Gossett kind of not sitting in the best position. Of course, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you can see a lot of drivers running up front right now. They're in the midst of their green flag cycle. So you see names like Kyle Myers and a couple of others that are at the front. Well, they're starting to fall on back now as they continue to work that pit cycle out. So Gossett, as you said, one of those drivers that really needs everything to work for him. He was a part of that four-way tie for 30th position. He'll be helped by the fact that Dalton Collins has parked it in the other split. He is done, so that is one less driver that he's going to have to worry about. But Gossett coming in here pretty much needing a prayer, but he's having a solid run right here trying to march forward to make that happen.
We've got a pack forming from about 9th on back. Drew Freynush is the guy out in front of this group. He's got Christopher Hill right behind, then Nichols and Cozy, on and on and on. And this is pretty much everybody else that's on the racetrack just stuck together like a cat on Velcro back here. They just cannot get separated.
Cat on Velcro, that's a new one. I don't think I've ever heard you use that one, Hits, but I like that, so we'll have to file that away. But you make a valid point. I don't necessarily think that Freynush is holding this group up. He's actually just a little bit ahead of everything. If anything, maybe it's Jake Nichols that might have the slow truck in this as we go back up towards the front, because Wyatt Tinsley is trying to make moves on Tommy Gossett, who was very sideways on the exit of 2, but it slowed up Tinsley just a little bit. He was too close to take advantage of it, and that draws Agnell Phillip back into this. And so Gossett, for all the hard work he did to get around Phillip and Tinsley and company, not only is fading from Andrew Navarro, but now has to deal with company from behind.
Oh man, Forkapa really loose coming off turn 4, right in front of Jordy Lopez Jr. and Michael Bumgarner, but he keeps the thing pointed in the right direction. How about the battle for 5th? Tommy Gossett, Wyatt Tinsley. Oh man, oh my gosh. Who was that? Bumgarner almost dropped it coming off turn number 2. He was pointed to the inside wall and he straightened it out. Now we'll stick with these guys up here at the front, 5th.
We'll follow these guys. We'll continue to follow all the point situations right now. Looking at the other split and drivers who can really change their fortune. Kevin King's probably the number 1 driver that sticks out to me right now, running in the 6th position. Somebody who needs a really good day sitting beneath that cut line right now. That's not going to be good news for drivers like Tommy Gossett right now, who are just fighting for their lives right now, fighting for every little point. And again, this goes back to last year. We know that this can all change. A late caution. I mean, heck, last year, 20th place was decided on the last corner of the last lap at Phoenix. I was the beneficiary of that, but we just won't mention it. But yeah, it just so much can happen here as we continue to see this unfold. Anything can happen.
Here's this pack that I was talking about earlier that's back here, 9th on back. 12 of Christopher Hill out in front. 5 just stuck up on the outside. Here comes Nichols down on the inside. Here comes Cozy. Got the Timmy Holmes machine back there. Jonathan Delaney down there as well. So they're just going to conga line right by him. Coming through turn 2.
Or at least try to here. I don't think anybody really has a good sense of who's got what kind of pace and who's going to try and make some sort of move. We see Freynush trying to get to the inside of Jake Nichols, but to no avail. I think the bigger point here, just looking a little bit further up, I think of Phillip and Gossett in particular on the surface, 6th and 7th sound good. And if we had full 35 truck fields in this, I think you'd feel a lot better about being able to say that this is the kind of run that might put them into the Contender Series. But with the small fields and with the lack of trucks in tonight's races, makes it that much harder for them to make up a gap of 12 points, because you look at it and, you know, you think of like Gosler, Phillip, if the corresponding drivers were in this race, they would have to finish 19th, 20th ballpark, which is pretty much the very back of the field that we have tonight, which in most cases it would normally be. It'd be more mid-pack. So something else that we need to keep in mind, not only for those two, but for some of the other drivers on the outside looking in, which this group has a few of them. Nichols, Freenage, Jimmy Holmes, all fighting for a spot in the top 20, but their job is just that little bit harder.
Closing in on just 20 laps to go here from Texas Motor Speedway. As the laps keep on winding down, battle for the lead, close-ish. DeMerchant, he has not fallen back. He's hung right with Joey Brown since Joey Brown has taken the lead away. And we'll see if DeMerchant can continue to apply the pressure to that 14 as we're coming to 20 laps to go this time by.
That's the battle for the lead that, again, will not have much of an impact on the point situation as they continue to run right now. DeMerchant, as you mentioned, Jacob, not letting go. In fact, he's going to go for the lead in turn 1, and he's going to have it easily. So Joey Brown, we've seen this a number of times. The leader gets out there for about 10 to 15 laps, and soon enough, they have another battle on their hands, and Brown and DeMerchant very respectful. Brown's not going to try to cross over, and a change for third as well. Andrew Navarro gets past Tyler Gary, so Gary will fall back to the 4th spot. Wyatt Tinsley, though, somebody that we're having to watch right now. He is on that cut line, and so I believe running 5th where he is right now. Pretty good spot to be if you're Wyatt Tinsley.
You would think, but you also got to think about as well how things could be shaping up as far as the other split is concerned. Again, you see those results, what's going on right now, the live order, scrolling across the bottom of your screen there at about 25 laps to go. We are inside 20 to go at 18 laps left once we cross the start-finish line right here. DeMerchant remains out in front now as he'll try and pick up the win here from Texas, carry that momentum into the next round. DeMerchant has not gone to victory lane yet this season, and I'm sure he would like to end this round with the victory. I know we've talked about it off and on throughout the season. Altus Esports had a terrible round in Contender last year. They did strong throughout the qualifying series. They made it to Contender, a good number of them. And they stunk up the show. This time around, I know they think things are going to be a little bit different, and there's only one way to do that. Win at the last race of the season, carry that momentum into Contender.
Which, most importantly, Jacob, would lock Seth DeMerchant into the Contender Series automatically if he can hang on to the lead and win tonight. So, winning cures all ills, insert, whatever cliche maxim here, but bottom line, you get this done, you hold off Joey Brown for 20 laps or so, you are going to the Contender Series no matter what else happens.
"15 laps to go this time by here from the Texas Motor Speedway." So we're running out of laps to have something big happen, really shuffle up the deck. Otherwise, the way they run right now is going to be very close to the way that they will run at the end of this deal. We've got a lot of guys really spread out, except for this gaggle of trucks back here. That's about from, 10th on back-ish, 9th on back.
That's where they're all battling, but one driver I've had my eye on, Jacob, this entire race, that's been Christopher Pfeffer right now. Came in 12 points above the cut line, and right now, he's just been running in the back of the field. He doesn't have any damage on his truck. It's just been that much of a handful for him, this number 66 machine back here in the 20th position. He has a lot of trucks lined up. They're too wide in front of him, racing really hard. He needs to get some points. I know he came in with a good cushion, 12 above the cut line. You think with a smaller field that would help him, but a 20th place run probably not going to cut it for him. So Pfeffer needs to get up on the wheel these last 13 or 14 laps. He's got about 6 spots in front of him that are all points that he can get, but right around that cut line, it's going to get interesting if he's not able to make up some spots.
He's running out of time to make those spots up. He does have one truck, a lot of trucks actually just up the road. Pacioli, Smallwood in a big pack. The question is, can he get to that pack in these next 13 laps, or could he need some assistance by way of a caution flag in order to pick up a couple of spots? 12 laps to go here from Texas. It's all Seth DeMerchant out in front of this pack, but Joey Brown not leaving his tire tracks, and Andrew Navarro, he is starting to reel that gap in slowly but surely. A little bit quicker than Seth DeMerchant that last time by. So is Tyler Gary and Wyatt Tinsley, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
They have been separated by mere hundredths, not tenths, hundredths of a second. Last time by, Joey Brown was slower by 9 1/1000ths of a second. So they are virtually dead even on pace. DeMerchant was the fastest driver up until Wyatt Tinsley in 5th on that last lap. So it's going to be to heck with the inches, maybe centimeters, millimeters that make the difference here up front. Biggest thing though, I think if you're any one of these drivers, the last thing you want to do is slide the rear tires on corner exit. We've seen that a few times tonight with some of the drivers that have been battling hard. If you're DeMerchant, you have to keep control of the rear of your truck. If you do that, I think for another 10 plus laps, you should be okay.
Oh, we got trouble in turn 1. Michael Bumgarner is sliding all the way down, and he's going to spin out. And I believe, is that going to bring out a caution? No, it's not. No yellow flag. Bumgarner is stopped in the middle of 1 and 2, and that is the last thing that Christopher Pfeffer wanted to see. He wanted that caution to be brought out. Bumgarner slides, stops, and no caution.
The leaders are in turn 1. I was looking to see if maybe somebody would be coming his way. No, the leaders just came off turn 2. There you see they are. So Michael Bumgarner with big issues. He now goes up to the top of the racetrack to get out of the way of the race leaders. So trouble for Michael Bumgarner late in the going. It does not bring out a yellow because there was nobody around him when he had the spin. Here's the replay.
Contact, yeah, a lot of contact there. So he had help. I think that's the pretty simple answer at the end of all this. And a tough break for him. He was towards the back end of that bubble with a mathematical shot to make it, but this is not the way you want your qualifying series campaign to end.
And I tell you what, Pfeffer wanted that more than anybody. I mean, he's back here in 20th. He could use that caution and stay out, try something. I guarantee he wanted that caution, but just did not get it.
Now Bumgarner staying out on the racetrack. We've got 7 laps to go. He is not up to speed. He's only running about 150, 160 mile an hour. It's about 20 mile an hour off the pace of everybody else, at least down the straightaway. Could he be hunting after the guy that made contact with him in that fork, Eppa?
It's not a terrible hypothesis, but I mean, Bumgarner pretty much, with the small field, I mean, he's pretty much been eliminated since this race started. If not mathematically, realistically, he just doesn't really have a chance. So I doubt he was, really looking to get a caution. Obviously stopped with oncoming traffic potentially coming. But
that being said, I do want to put a positive spin on this. He's not had the luck in the sim tonight, but Blake, you've seen it a lot. This man has been an animal in the limited late models at Hickory. Track champion there this season, I believe. Won the corresponding race at North Wilkesboro, too, back at the end of August. So might not have had a lot of luck in the sim, but he's someone who I think in real life, if you're around the short track scene, you can see him in a late model, I think, within the next year or two. And I think he'll be a threat at a lot of tracks throughout the Carolinas.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, last driver to win at North Wilkesboro right now.
Yeah.
Michael Bumgarner.
True story there.
Let's shift our attention for the moment now to the leaders with coming to 4 laps to go. Seth DeMerchant has extended the lead over Joey Brown just a little bit as we try and find out where they're at on the racetrack. Now 4 to go here from Texas. As there you see Bumgarner, right in the way of 4 Kappa. Saw this coming, and Bumgarner's going to spin back at the racetrack. Can he save it? Yes. 4 Kappa goes by, and Bumgarner cannot deliver at least any swift justice, but he tried. A swing and a miss.
Not how you want that to go, nor what I think you want to see. The question now, I suppose, is whether or not Bumgarner is going to really just sort of ride, or whether or not he's going to clamp on the brakes and try and take one more shot at Fort Kappa before the race is over.
And Fort Kappa responds in the iRacing chat with just why. Not the word, just the letter. Why? 2 laps to go this time by here from Texas. The gap is almost 0.4 of a second. Seth DeMerchant has hit the afterburners here from Texas. He's pulling away from Joey Brown headed to turn 1.
And I think Joey Brown that is a significant distance to try to make up. Brown really loose off the corner. Don't think he's going to have anything for Seth DeMerchant, who is not only going to be going into contender. I mean, he has had several opportunities in contender the last couple of years. Is this going to be the year that Seth DeMerchant can finally break through and get to the Coke Series? Yet again, he'll take the white flag.
1 lap to go from the Texas Motor Speedway, and we are going wire-to-wire, caution-free tonight from the Texas Motor Speedway. What a way to end this season. And for Seth DeMerchant, he was 12th with the drop coming into tonight. He just needed a good run. So in response, he says, heck with it. I'll go out there and I'll win the thing. Coming off turn number 4, Seth DeMerchant's going to be racing in contender, and he will win at Texas.
Really nice work in the last 10 laps, as you see some of the battles here a little bit further back taking place and rounding themselves out. But what a drive for the man from Skowhegan, Maine. I think, like, this is a deep dive. If he could make Coke, I think he would be the first Mainer ever to race in that series. I could be wrong about that, but if my knowledge of the series serves me correctly, we've had some drivers from the Northeast represented, New Hampshire, Vermont, I believe, in the past, Connecticut, but no one from Maine. So DeMerchant carrying the flag for that state, I would argue not only in the contender series, but arguably for all of the oval side of iRacing. A lot of people know how good he is.
They certainly do, but can he exercise those demons of the next step up? That team, that Logitech Altus Esports outfit, has always had great trucks. Can they find that same speed in the Xfinity car, which again is what is so much different about contender? The truck in the Xfinity car, nothing alike in how they drive and how you set them up. Can they figure that out? Because that's been their Achilles heel these last couple attempts to try and make the Coke Series.
And what's going to be crucial about that as well with contender is whenever we get that schedule announced, we have to see what tracks are going to be on it. Is it going to be a variation of tracks like it was here throughout the qualifying iRacing series, or is it going to be more like last year's contender where we're going to a lot of mile-and-a-half race tracks? We'll just have to wait and see when that comes down. Quickly, though, let's go to Caleb Hoffman because we are almost at the checkered flag in the other split. Caleb.
We are. Parker White right now, who came into the night locked in, has run away with it, coming to the white flag right now, going through turns 3 and 4 for the last time. Right now, the top 5, most everybody in that top 5, 3 of the 5 are already locked in. So right now, coming across the white flag, Parker White. We got Blaze Crawford, who is going to probably finish second, barring anything, any calamity on the last lap here. We got Tucker Minter in third, who once again is locked in. Kenny Brady locked in as well. Kenny Brady started tonight in 26th. He's going to have a strong run coming home in the top 5. Daniel Budafuco and Jackson Crowder coming in behind him. But coming through turns 3 and 4 now, Parker White is going to win the top split here at Texas. And once again, Blaze Crawford second, Tucker Minter third, Kenny Brady fourth, Kevin King fifth, Daniel Budafuco comes home 6th, Jackson Crowder in 7th, Santiago Tires in 8th, James Winsel in 9th, and rounding at the top 10, Boyd Hogan over here in the other split.
Kevin King, he needed that. That could be a run that will put him into contender right there with a 5th place.
Have to see where the points shake out. Thanks, Caleb. Let's take a look at our results here from our split from Texas. P1 belongs to Seth DeMerchant tonight. Joey Brown, Andrew Navarro, 2 guys that are locked into contender. They sit 2nd and 3rd. Tyler Gary is 4th. Wyatt Tinsley is in 5th. Agnell Phillip in 6th. Daniel Falkingham 7th. Tommy Gossett 8th. Jake Nichols 9th. All 4 of them looking perhaps for some better finishes tonight. Christopher Hill rounding out the top 10, finishing in 10th.
Drew Freenos came home at 11th. Michael Cozy Jr. was 12th. Timmy Holmes finished this evening in 13th, and Jonathan Delaney was 14th. Daniel Smallwood brought it home in the 15th position. 16th went to Matt Forcappa. Jordy Lopez Jr., nothing to worry about. We'll see him in contender. He already locked up his spot at Bristol on the dirt. He finished 17th. Christopher Pfeffer was 18th. Timmy Pacioli 19th. Connor Horn 20th. And Michael Bumgarner, the last of our 21 drivers in our race of the season finale for the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway.
And we look to our interview room. Crickets. Nobody's here. We'll see if we can get anybody to come in and talk to us here before we wrap things up here from the Texas Motor Speedway. But, you know, the season is now done, and we'll get an official top 20, at least top 20 as far as who's making the next round and who is not here in a little while. But in the meantime, guys, you know, this season has gone by relatively quickly in the grand scheme of things. It feels like just yesterday we were starting at Mid-Ohio, and here we are now. This season already done, and we've got Contender coming up here as we creep into November once the Coke Series is said and done.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what the unofficial top 20 look like, and maybe even the top 22, depending on the retirees from the Coke Series, and if anyone else decides to step away between now and the end of the Coke Series season, like Blake mentioned a little bit earlier on the broadcast. We'll see if we can't get you at least some unofficial names in a little bit. Maybe the officials. We'll see how quick iRacing timing and scoring and statistics are to update their final point standings as we wrap up the broadcast. But we may be kicking it here for a while. But yes, an interesting season, I think. And as I step back and look at it in big frame, the stories here, I think to a large degree, it's people who have had cracks at this before in some way, shape, or form. And again, sort of what Blake said in the middle of the broadcast, really finding their groove and nailing it down this time. I think of Tucker Minter in particular. He's had a few shots at the qualifying series, but never really was able to put it quite together. Solidly a contender. Parker White comes in new to it, but with tons of speed, easy, just waltz in a contender. Joey Brown, another one of those returners. Alan Bowes is another name I think of that did this a few years ago, took a break from the series, came back. We'll see him in contender with ease. Navarro gets another crack at things. Jordy Lopez is going to get another shot. DeMerchant's going to get another shot. So people who have a little bit of experience, I mean, White really is the only one up near the top of the unofficial leaderboard coming into the night that I see that was truly new to this level. Everybody else, you've had some experience, and I think, Jake, that underscores just how tricky it is to be successful at this level. It's not uncommon, especially in the beginning of the qualifying series, to see strength of field numbers that are higher than what we see in the Coke Series. It's not easy to be fast at this level of oval sim racing, but if you can make it here, you at least get the shot to go up against some of the best from the Coke Series of the prior season, and then it's all on you to just make it happen and be one of the top 20 out of that 40.
Believe we might have points here, maybe, potentially. No. Got some discrepancy here. I thought maybe we had it, and just comparing what's been sent and what I've got over here on my screen, one of these things is not like the other. That one looks more right, Zach, our producer. So maybe
that's what I have on that unofficial spreadsheet that I just put in the chat. That's aligns with what I have.
Yep. That's what I was going off of. So we'll let our producer, Zach Johnson, pull that magic up. Joey Brown was here. I was going to try and squeeze him in at some point after we looked at the points. If you're listening, Joey, come on back. I promise you we're not done. We love to talk
Seth
with
or
you.
Andrew. I mean, shoot, anybody. We'll
anybody. Okay, we have Joey. We have Andrew. They're in the wrong place. So let me at least drag them down into my view so I at least know they're here. Yep. All right. There they are. Okay, so we'll get to them here.
They tried. They almost had it right. Give them credit. Yep. They had the right idea.
I don't know if they just can't see the channel or what, but in the meantime here, points. If we can get them the way things look right now, we'll show you the top 20, and then we'll show you the guys that are on the outside looking in just in case. We already talked about the potential that some of those drivers may get called up. because there are guys in the Coke Series that are not going to come back for another season. We don't know if that's the case for sure. We will find out whenever that gets announced, but in the meantime, right now, top 20 is what we've got under the microscope. Everybody on the outside looking in, as of right now, you have not made the Contender Series, and you will not be racing to try and get into the Coke Series once we get to that point in time. And again, no official dates as far as Contender is concerned. Eventually, later on this year, here are your points. These are unofficially official. I guess we can call them
unofficial.
I would say unofficial, but more than likely we've got it right. But we'll go with unofficial. Tucker Minter wins round number 2. Parker White 3 points behind. Then Joey Brown, Andrew Navarro, Kenny Brady, Jordy Lopez Jr., Seth DeMerchant, Boyd Hogan breaking up that Altus Esports train in there. Cozy in 9th. Blaze Crawford 10th. Christopher Hill 11th. Tyler Gary 12th. Jonathan Delaney 13th. Ryan Doucette 14th, Casey Tucker 15th, Brandon McKissick 16th, Daniel Botafuco 17th, Wyatt Tinsley 18th, Christopher Pfeffer in 19th, Kevin King 20th. Those 20 unofficially are moving on to Contender. Let's take a look at page number 2 here, the guys that are on the outside looking in. Falkingham out by 1. Remember, he was your pole sitter for tonight's race. He finished
not only
7th
that,
tonight.
He got hit on his pit entry that definitely cost him probably at least a second or so. He was able to gather it up, so a save that probably kept him in contention, but probably cost him the point or two that he may have needed to get in that top 20.
Brendan John Kohler, Kyle Myers, James Wenzel, Timmy Holmes, all on the outside looking in, all within really 7 or 8 points. In fact, you've got 9 guys from 21st to 29th, maybe 8 guys that are out within 10 points of the guy that's in 20th in Kevin King. It's unbelievable how close this really came down to. Agnell Phillip, Drew Freinage, he is out. Garrison Hogan out. Daniel Smallwood, Jake Nichols, all on the outside looking in. Tommy Gossett, he needed a lot of help tonight. He is out. Connor Horn out. Eddie Kerner, he had a strong run to start round number 2. He is out. Santiago Tires, another strong driver. He is out. He will not race in Contender. So for these guys that are on the outside, it's been a long season. Remember, we started this deal back in February. We're now at the very end of September. And for the guys that do not get the chance to move on, you've run 15 races, spent hundreds of hours practicing. And, well, now you just got to come back, try to get another year, Blake.
Yeah, that's exactly how harsh this series kind of is. It is a significant time investment for these drivers to do all the testing, to get the trucks dialed in, to get the setups dialed in, and even for some drivers that are moving on. You think they may be in the same scenario if in 2 months' time their Contender run doesn't go quite as well as they want it. They'll be right back with them. So that's kind of the harsh reality of this qualifying ladder, that a lot of time and effort goes in, and again, there's no guarantee of that success, even if you've gotten through round 1, even if you've gotten through round 2 to get on to the Contender Series. Now, it is worth mentioning that all the drivers that we have that are in unofficially right now on points, there is an approval process that iRacing goes through for every single driver. So just because you got in the top 20 does not mean you are automatically in. iRacing does a thorough review, make sure that everything is good to go with each of the drivers that have qualified. So that is one thing of noting, assuming that that process goes well for each of these drivers. Those are the 20 that will be in. From what we know, we have 2 Coke Series drivers in Liam Brotherton and in Logan Clampett that have announced their retirement. If they finish 21st or worse in the Coke Series, that should open up 2 more slots for a 21st and 22nd driver. But if it's tough. If you're Falkingham, you want to be in the top 20. You don't want to have to rely on that, or you don't want to have to rely on perhaps 1 or maybe 2 more Coke drivers announcing their retirement, or relying on one of your friends perhaps not accepting their invitation. That's another thing that can happen, and I believe happened last year, is not everybody that gets invited to the Contender Series accepts the invitation. So there's a lot still to play out, but it is going to be a long couple of weeks, especially for those drivers that are probably sitting 22nd, 23rd. There's going to be some sleepless nights these next few weeks.
Let's talk with, at least two of our top three. We start with our third place finisher. That's Andrew Navarro, and Blake, we'll send him your way.
All right, Andrew, it seems like a pretty solid night tonight. You didn't have to go out there and accomplish too much, just had to go and kind of settle things out, especially with how well you've been in the Contender Series this year. So I'll go ahead and ask you about that. Obviously, you came out and ran well tonight. What statement were you looking to make to try and go into that Contender Series with?
Yeah, I was hoping to get the win there. It looked like it was in reach for a second there, and then saving and then going and then saving again probably wasn't the right call. I should have just went from the get-go after I pitted. But yeah, I just really wanted to go in with good momentum, and I'm pretty sure I did that tonight. I'm happy with a P3 after Bristol Dirt.
4 top fives, including 2 victories back at Michigan and at IRP. But looking forward to that Contender Series. Obviously, you came in tonight. You knew that you didn't have anything to worry about. You were locked in. So how much preparation has already started to look towards that Xfinity Series car? What's the preparation been like in trying to get ready for that?
Yeah, I wasn't really. We were on a team last year, so we have a little bit of notes to go through. But we started about a week ago after Bristol Dirt, started working on it a little bit more, running, races, officials. And, I mean, there's not much you can take away from the truck to the Xfinity car. So we're starting off with a clean slate, which is nice. And it'll be fun come November.
It would be. And obviously, we don't know that schedule yet. Is there any particular focus on any type of track with that, or are you just kind of looking broad scale at each, mile and a half short track or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, you want to build for Phoenix. That's the first week of November. We don't know if that's going to be on the schedule, but I mean, anything that's Phoenix could be turned into Richmond, et cetera, et cetera. And then, mile and a half stuff, we worked on Kansas quite a bit. And hopefully they don't throw a super speedway our way, because that would really screw us up. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much. And again, congratulations. I know the excitement that comes out of being able to advance through the second round and be able to be one step beneath the Coke Series. It's an exciting time. Enjoy it, because I know it takes a lot of work to reach this level. But yeah, enjoy it, and hopefully things go well and getting ready for that next step.
Yeah, thank you. I also like to say thank you to Celebrity Cruises, Seven Seas Corporate Events, Martin Sports, Premier Racing, Tranquility Sports, everybody that helps us out, and you guys for putting on the broadcast today.
All right, that is Andrew Navarro. He brings it home in third, 4th overall in the round 2 season standings. It looks like Joey Brown is ready to catch up with James Pike. He brought it home 2nd tonight.
Well, I could do this, but to be honest, Blake, I think given how much we've made light of the fact that one Jacob Hitz may or may not have missed the boat on points a little bit, Jacob, I feel like it's more appropriate that you get the opportunity to face your own music here and interview our runner-up, who I thought you said wasn't even going to be in round number 2.
We should have Zach do this interview, because if you remember, he was the one that forgot to tell me the key piece of information about the point situation going into the last race at Charlotte, which is why I thought Joey Brown was eliminated even though he won. He won at Charlotte. He won a lot more in round number 2, and you're headed to the Contender Series. Joey, congratulations.
Oh, thanks, guys. We're still talking about this, but man, it's been pretty solid season for us. Feels good to be back up here on top. I think we finished 3rd in points here. That's huge. I haven't raced this competitively, and it's been a while. I think 2014 was my last year in the what is now the Coke Series, and I really just took that break, and I really wasn't expecting anything coming in this year. Round 1 was hit and miss, and I think we've really hit our stride. Hopefully, we can carry some of this momentum into the Contender Series.
I know we don't know a schedule yet for Contender, but we've got the Xfinity cars on deck. Is there anything that you wish would be on the schedule? Anything you're looking forward to going into Contender? And for the most part, most of the guys you're going to be racing with. So I'm curious your thoughts on that as well.
I'd be okay with Mid Ohio, but no, I'm pretty good at pretty much any of the mile and a halves. I've always been pretty solid, especially Charlotte. Charlotte's one of my better tracks, so I'm hoping we see that. I'm pretty sure Charlotte has been a pretty mainstay in the previous Contender Series, so we're kind of expecting that one. But other than that, I really don't know. Hopefully we see a road course. I'm pretty okay at those too, so we'll just just get at whatever they bring at us and hit the ground running.
How about tonight here at Texas Motor Speedway? I probably should have asked you this question first, but I honestly didn't think about it. Yeah, there was a race tonight. You had a strong truck pretty much from the drop of the green flag. Started a little deep in traffic back in 10th, but you were able to work your way up through the field.
Yeah, I kind of goofed up the Q lap there. Missed 1 and 2, and I was about 3 truck widths above the white line, so it was terrible. I was really going for that 5th pole for this season. That would have been pretty awesome. But yeah, it was good. The race pace was decent. I feel like we struggled a little bit on drive off compared to some of the other guys. It cut the center really well. But yeah, it was pretty good. I hate how these races become fuel mileage races like this. I don't know why they don't either make it 5 laps more or 5 laps less. Like I hate racing like this. But yeah, it is what it is. And it was fun. Glad saved enough there that first run to make 51 laps. That was my goal. Seth was on that same strategy, and I think it really paid off for us there.
Well, congratulations on the P2 tonight, making Contender, and you never know. We may see you along the way, but best of luck through Contender, and congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That's Joey Brown, your P2 finisher tonight. He is in, unofficially, the next round for the eNASCAR Contender Series. And, well, gentlemen, that was fun. Final thoughts.
We're not quite done. I do want to make a point here. We got a little update from Garrett Mashburn, our statistician, that as it stands, as things currently sit, Logan Clampett is 60 points behind that 20th position cut line in the Coke Series. Liam Brotherton is 70 points behind. If they leave the next race at Homestead 39 points or more behind 20th place in the points, then they will automatically be sent down to the Contender Series in theory. But since they're not racing, that would open up the 2 spots for, we would presume, at least to start, Falkingham and Kohler. So if you're one of those two, you're going to be waiting out a few weeks. And even then, I think through the process that Blake mentioned, where you've got the acceptance of invitations and the double checking to make sure that all the drivers are eligible, maybe there's a chance for a Myers or a Wenzel. So if you're right on the edge, I'd say 20th through 25th, you're going to be sitting for a few weeks. But I think you get about Garrison Hogan in 30th, you could say you're probably not going to get a shot at it. You're going to have to come back next year. But this is the ultimate grind, I think, of maybe just about any series in all of iRacing, because you have no series that has more competition, more drivers, and I think a greater level of just talent, ability, and skill. We only see 40 in the Coke Series every year. We see at the beginning of each of these seasons of the qualifying series, nearly 1,000 drivers take part. That's a significant difference. And if you can make it through this, I won't necessarily say you can make it just about anywhere, but at minimum, it does prove that you really can get the job done on a lot of different tracks in a very, very difficult car that is deceptively easy to get into, but it's very, very challenging to master. And I think if there's anything that we take away from any end of a qualifying series season, it's that we need to commend the 20 drivers that have made it, because they really have found a way to prove themselves from February to September, and they have, without question, earned their places in the Contender Series.
Speaking of earned, Seth the Merchant. He's here. Let's talk with him, James Pike.
Yeah. I guess fitting that the two old buddies get back here together and do this. So, DeMerch, you're going to the Contender Series first and foremost, no question. You locked yourself in with a victory tonight. How does that feel?
It feels really good. I'm excited to see what we can do this year. I think we've put together a really good group going into my third time. A lot of our guys, it's a few of their first times, and we want to try to put a few cars in the Coke and see what we can do.
How are you all going to approach this? And are there any changes that you all at Altus Esports are going to make in comparisons to seasons past when you attack Contender this season?
I just think the way that we test, before it was a lot of just, I think just more, we have more people like approaching the setups in different ways, like before, I don't think we had enough help in the past. And now we're going to have more people going at different directions and trying to find speed, whereas I feel like the past 2 years we've been lacking a little bit, and yeah, I don't know.
How excited are you?
I'm pretty excited. I think we're going to be a lot stronger this year than last year, and hopefully we can just put the races together and not get wrecked, and get some points.
I think he proved something tonight, Jacob, as he knows he's got more to prove. But at least on this evening, Seth the Merchant ends up on top with Altus Esports as your race winner of the final race, the 2022 eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series from Texas.
It's been a long ride. It's been a long season. And, well, that's it for the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. 15 races have come and gone, and that's that. Contender is next. There are some other things that happen here on FTF.GG before Contender comes around for the 20 drivers that made it tonight, the 20 drivers from Coke. That'll get to battle it out to see who gets to run in the Coke Series next season. So, what's all coming up? Well, the Winstel, nope, that's last week. Here we go. The Bar Visual FTF Cup Series is live from Talladega on Saturday at 9:45. No idea who's going to be in the booth for that, but we're racing at Talladega. Should be a lot of fun. And then the Winstel Gen 4 Challenge is also at Talladega. That's Sunday at 8 o'clock. Monday night at 9:20, the Short Course Series returns from Crandon, the season finale there. And SimCar is back on Thursday, October 6th. That's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Oh, yeah, there's also that Michigan race that Blake McCandless guy is hosting. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. Wednesday, October 12th, Heats. Thursday, October 13th is the big show. We'll see that all and more right here on FTF.GG. For Justin Malillo down on pit road, for Caleb Hoffman, who is covering the other split for us tonight, for Zach Johnson, our producer, my colleagues in the booth, James Pike and Blake McCandless, I'm Jacob Pitt saying so long from Texas. Seth DeMerchant, your winner. The field of 20 is set for Contender.